there's been a lot of talk online last night. Joe Rogan published an episode of the podcast with Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And that podcast seemed to disappear off Spotify. Now, I know Joe Rogan's come out since saying it was a technical problem or something and they had to re-upload it. I'm not too sure whether that's true or not. But when I was watching the episode as well, I noticed that unlike the old episodes, no matter what Alex Jones said, Joe Rogan fact-checked there on the spot there, which isn't something that they always used to do. What do you make about the whole Spotify censorship around Joe Rogan? Do you believe that is the case, or?
So, well, first off, let me say I haven't watched the episode yet. I saw a couple clips, but I haven't watched the full episode. That's sort of secondary to your question, though. As far as the move to Spotify, I don't begrudge Rogan making a lot of money on the move. He's entitled to do whatever he wants. He deserves all the success that he can get, and people care about what he says, so that's all great. The idea, though, that going to Spotify was going to somehow solve some of the censorship issues on YouTube or something else, it's like, no, he just went to another big tech company. So when they made him take down some episodes from his archives, and he did it. So that's for people to judge whether Rogan did the right thing or not. I guess that it has affected a little bit about how he goes about doing an interview, where now if he sits down with Alex Jones, he feels like he has to fact check him all the time. But he puts on all sorts of people that say all sorts of zany things all the time. He puts on, Abby Martin, who's, a really far left commentator. He puts on her all the time to spew nonsense and doesn't fact check her all the way. So I think that's going to be a tough spot. I say this as an interviewer. If your need or goal as an interviewer is to fact check every sentence coming out of somebody's mouth, then it's not going to be a fun job to be an interviewer, but also it would sort of be impossible. And also, by the way, we know that obviously Rogan's not going to do it. He knows he's under a specific microscope with Jones, but he's not going to do it with somebody else. So those are all commentaries that Joe, I would say, has to deal with for himself and everything else. The bigger issue is that the Spotify thing doesn't solve anything. You're just moving from one big tech platform to another big tech platform. And even someone like Joe, who's got, more money than you can ever imagine, it's like he's still susceptible to the idea that the woke culture that seemingly has infected Spotify to some level. Well, maybe it hasn't infected the CEO yet. Maybe they're keeping him there for now. But we know that once the woke virus is in any system, and I'm sure you discussed this with Gad, this is what his book is about the parasitic mind. Once that culture has been infected, it affects everything. So my guess is that this will not end well for Rogan or Spotify.